everybody, and welcome to a very special episode of Tell Me More, a hospitality data podcast. I'm Stephanie Ricca, editorial director of Hotel News Now. With me, as always, STR's Isaac Collazo and CoStar Group's Jan Freitag. Today, in this special episode, we open up the old reader mailbag and ask Isaac and Jan your questions. So before we launch into it, I just want to let everybody know you are welcome at any time to email me a question for this group, sricca@hotelnewsnow.com. Find our posts on LinkedIn where we're asking for your questions and do it that way. We're going to sprinkle these mini episodes in every now and then so that you can get your voice heard, and maybe on the radio, these guys will answer it. Let's dive right in. We've got a question from Rocco Bova, who's an industry consultant. A lot of us know Rocco, asking about when we can expect the industry to really embrace sustainability a little bit more than it does. You know, this has been a key topic for a while. ESG is always, one of those that we say it's very important outside of the US, inside the US, maybe we haven't really gotten there. What can we expect on sustainability, those types of topics?
Well, on a very small first step is that when I travel, I don't encounter tiny little shampoo bottles anymore. They're mostly gone by the wayside, and it's these big refillable bottles bolted into the wall. So I think that's a good thing. That's number one. But I would think about this question slightly differently and talk about resiliency, right? Climate change is real. Summers are getting hotter, as we just saw in Phoenix, 31 days over 110 degrees. Storms are getting stronger. NOAA does this very interesting map where they track the billion-dollar insurance claims, and this year we've had 25. That is a little bit below trend, but still, that's a lot of insurance claims. So I would think about, how does the hotel industry prepare for weather that is getting more erratic? Like, how do you keep your internet secure? How do you keep your water source secure? How do you keep your electricity? And then, as importantly, how do you keep your staff out of harm's way and get your staff to your guests and get it in and off either the resort or the downtown property? So emergency generators, redundant internet, other water sources, all of that should be top of mind, not just for developers, but for people who currently own hotels, because I think we're going to see more weird weather.
Yeah, I think, I think you're correct on that, Jan, but it's also, make sure when you're building the building, you're taking all those factors into account now. And then also having that plan. I always find things interesting when things go awry and there's no plan. It's like, well, we didn't have a plan for this. Well, you're going to have a plan, because if you do have a house full of guests, essentially, at your hotel, and there is a major storm issue, you've still got to service them. You've got to have some kind of plan to keep them safe and keep the systems and everything running. So, plan. I think that's going to be our new mantra going forward.
I really like that word resiliency too. It encapsulates a lot of what those themes are, and we see this happening in areas that aren't even necessarily typical anymore. In the Caribbean, you expect hurricanes, so there is a lot of planning, but that resilience can mean a lot in that ESG conversation. So let me pull another letter out of the old mailbag. And this one is coming from somebody who did not want their name read on air, but they're asking for your thoughts on international inbound travel. We've seen peaks and valleys over this year, but what are you seeing for the remainder of 2023 and into maybe first quarter of 24? Because there is a lot of pent up international inbound.
I think the surprising aspect, the thing I saw most recently, what came from tourism economics, and it really is that they believe, if I remember correctly, that international inbound will recover by 2025. So that means 2024 is a very strong growth period for international inbound. And a lot of factors we playing into that. Again, people have been traveling all over the world. Now they're going to start coming back into the United States, right? And going back, and we're seeing less, exchange rates are moderating, inflation is moderating. So the things that may have kept people away, and then most importantly, lift is getting better again. So technically, hopefully those items, especially the lift, I think we underestimate how important lift is, that the lift into the US and both out and in will increase in capacity, therefore makes it a little bit more inexpensive to get here, and will
We
hopefully
hope.
bring more travelers. Yeah, we hope bring more travelers into
For
the
all
U.S.
of our sakes.
Exactly right.
So I got 5 letters and 2 numbers for you.
Of course you do.
I-92 APIS, my favorite data set that is not CoStar or STR. It is published by the Department of Commerce. I-92, of course, as you well know, probably, are the data sets that the airlines have to give the Department of Commerce. And they tell you, is an American flying abroad or is an international traveler coming into the US? And it's a free website. It's your and my taxpayer that work. It is super cool. It is super easy to use. And I use it in presentations all the time, pointing out that the number of Americans going abroad compared to 2019 is up, I don't know, 15, sometimes 20% as it was in August. But the number of international travelers coming to the US is down 15% or so compared to 2019. What's cool about this data set is that you cannot just do this on a very global level and saying Americans leaving the US, but you can do it by country. You can say how many Japanese are coming into the US, how many Americans are going to, I don't know, Germany, but you can also do it by city pair. You can look at people flying from London to New York, from LA to Auckland, for example. So it's a super deep, very interesting, very up-to-date data set that I can only highly recommend.
And what you can also find in that data set, I'm sure you saw this, is that that decline in international inbounds has been lessening all
Yes,
year, right?
exactly.
So we're seeing, and what was really surprising, I'm just looking at the charts right now, is that the outbound US really peaked in September. We hadn't seen, I mean, it was much larger than it had been all year. So again, you're starting, again, can we say this word again? Normalizing, balancing. Can we say it? Can we say
Yes,
it?
you
Let's say it.
can.
We're gonna get back to some normality in that sector as well, inbound and outbound.
And I think, Isaac, you made a very interesting point. Was 2023 the year of the outbound revenge travel? And all the Americans, like we're all on Instagram, all our friends were in Rome and in Venice, and in Greece. And are they done with that? And will in 2024 people say, well, I just went abroad, let me stay here? And will then the international be a tailwind? International inbound for us being a tailwind, and the Americans staying more abroad also be a tailwind for our performance in the US? Question mark.
We'll look for
That's
that
good.
next summer.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, next question. This is a fun one. What surprised you the most about the hotel industry in 2023?
Again, for me, it actually dovetails when we just talked about. It was the softness of domestic demand, which was also tied into with people leaving the country, and then also the real softness we saw in economy hotels. That was surprising. And then when we peel back the onion to look at it, yeah, there was definite softness coming from lower priced hotels, mostly economy. But then you saw on the upper end, you actually saw some really gathering strength, some really strong numbers there with upscale, upper mid scale outperforming 2019 most of the summer.
Jan,
For
how
me,
about
it's
you?
For me, it was more on the real estate side. So I sit in on a bunch of industry investment roundtables with a lot of bankers and owners and lenders. And really, after 2022, people talked about the wall of distress. They talked about it in 21, and then they were like, 22, okay, so this is really happening. And I honestly thought we would see more distress in 2023, but it absolutely has not materialized. The delinquency rate on CMBS loans is 5%, was 5%, probably will be 5%. I don't know. I can't predict that, but it's really nothing to write home about. And yes, there are some very high profile delinquent properties like Park Hotels saying, hey, in San Francisco, we are out of here. 3,000 rooms, the Park 55 and the Hilton are no longer being serviced, handed back to the lender. Okay, that's to me is the outlier. What the story is here, that there is no story. And all these private equity funds and high net worth individuals that were standing on the sidelines saying, I have all this money to deploy. Where's the distress? And they come to me, and when I have these conversations, they say, where's the distress? I'm like, well, I have distress for you. I got 3,000 rooms in San Francisco. And they say, no, I don't want that distress. They want the good distress. And that just doesn't seem to materialize.
Right. It just has not manifested despite all of the vision boards that those private equity investors were building over the years. So we're going to close with a fun question. This one also from an asker who wishes to remain anonymous. I don't blame him or her. So this person asks, given the strength and power of summer entertainment and music tours, Isaac and Jan, are you Swifties and or part of the Beehive?
Ooh, ooh, that's a hard one. I like all kinds of music, so I'm everything. I'm everything. I'm not gonna get in that one.
And
I
you
am
like
everything.
what those two did for the industry?
Yes, I did. And the one who characterized it the best is Ed Bastian, CEO of Delta. He goes, "We're in the era of the experience economy," and that's what those two shows have shown, that people want experiences and they're willing to pay for it.
Jan,
So
how
you're
about
not
you?
an either or, you're the and, all of the above.
All of the
Well,
above. I don't believe in. I love all kinds of music. So
Your playlist is vast and
that's yes.
broad.
So I'd see both in a heartbeat.
Well, Hendersonville, where the STR officer claims Taylor Swift because she went to high school here for a hot minute. And so Nashville claims Taylor Swift because that's where she got her start. When she came through town, they put a bench into Centennial Park dedicated to her, where she can read a book. And so there was a long line the day before the concert of Swifties getting ready to sit in this very specific bench. So I think just to, honor the Nashville connection, I got to be a Swiftie.
You can't deny the hype, right? And it's going to continue into the foreseeable future. And then everybody else is going to join that bandwagon. So the experience economy is here to stay. Guys, thank you for opening the mailbag with me today. And again, I'll remind readers that you can send us a question anytime. And of course, find Tell Me More, a hospitality data podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. See you next episode. This special episode of Tell Me More, a hospitality data podcast, was recorded on November 28, 2023 by me, Stephanie Ricca. The episode was edited and mixed by Rachel Daub. Find Tell Me More and all Hotel News Now's other podcasts wherever you listen and subscribe by searching for Hotel News Now. Visit hotelnewsnow.com for the latest global hotel industry news. Thanks for listening.
Hi, I'm Davon Reeves.
I'm Omari Head.
And I'm Chris Henry.
We're the hosts of the Next Gen and Lodging podcast on the Hotel News Now podcast network. It's a monthly show in which we interview a new generation of hoteliers to get their insights into a variety of disciplines and topics, from finance to food and beverage and hotel operations. Listen to us on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.